In our modern world, we think of giving as pure generosity. If you give someone a birthday present, you expect nothing back. To calculate a return would seem rude and calculating. Marcel Mauss, writing in 1925, says this idea is completely wrong. The whole notion of a free gift is based on a misunderstanding. Throughout human history, giving has never been simple or free. Instead, it has always been driven by powerful obligations. When you give something, you create a bond. The receiver must give something back. This is not just politeness, it is a deep social and even spiritual law. Mauss was not just doing historical research, he was challenging the core ideas of Western economics. Thinkers like Adam Smith argued that human society began with individuals trading to get what they wanted. People bartered, then invented money, and eventually built markets. Mauss turns this completely around. Before there were markets, human society was held together by something else, the endless cycle of giving, receiving, and returning gifts. To understand how this works, Mauss introduces a key idea, the total social fact. In modern life, we separate things into different categories. We have law, religion, economics, and family life as distinct and different areas. A contract is purely legal. Buying food is purely economic. Praying is purely religious. But in older societies, these divisions did not exist. When people exchanged gifts, everything happened at once. The exchange was religious because it involved spirits and sacred rules. It was legal because it created binding agreements. It was political because it established alliances and social ranks. It was economic because goods changed hands. It was even aesthetic because it involved ceremonies, dances, and displays of beauty. By studying these total social facts, Mauss says we see people as they really are, fully integrated social beings. We are not the cold, calculating individuals that economic theory imagines. The gift system is not just one part of society, it is the society itself. At the heart of the gift economy are three obligations that everyone must follow: the obligation to give, the obligation to receive, and the obligation to return. First, you cannot simply keep your wealth to yourself. In a gift economy, refusing to give is like declaring war. A chief maintains power only by giving things away. By distributing goods, they gain political influence and social standing. Second, you cannot refuse a gift when it is offered. To say no is to reject the relationship. It is an act of hostility. By accepting, you acknowledge that you are now part of shared social world with mutual duties. Third and most importantly, you must give something back, but the return cannot be immediate or identical. That would look too much like a simple trade. Instead, the return must happen after some time, and it must often be worth more than the original gift. This creates honor and strengthens the bond between people. This brings us to Mauss's interesting idea. Why do people feel so strongly compelled to return gifts? To answer this, he looks at the Maori people of New Zealand and their concept of the ha, the spirit of the gift. The Maori believe that objects are not dead things, when someone creates or owns an object, a piece of their spiritual self, their soul remains attached to it. So when a gift is given, it carries the spirit of the giver with it. This spirit wants to return home. If you keep the gift without giving something back, the trapped spirit will bring you sickness or misfortune. You are not just receiving an object, you are receiving a piece of another person's soul. To free yourself from this spiritual burden, you must pass something back. Through this belief, Mauss shows that in ancient societies, the line between people and things was blurred. Things had personalities, and people treated each other like things. The circulation of goods was really a circulation of souls binding the community together. Mauss looks at two famous examples from around the world to prove his point. In the Pacific Northwest of America, indigenous peoples practiced the potlatch. This was a massive festival where rival chiefs competed by giving away enormous amounts of goods. A chief would try to overwhelm his rival with gifts so generous that the rival could not possibly match them. If the rival failed to return with equal value, they lost honor and status. Sometimes chiefs would even destroy their own valuables, burning blankets or smashing copper shields, just to show they had so much wealth that they could afford to waste it. This was an economic war fought with generosity. In the islands of Melanesia, Mauss studied the Kula ring. Here, two types of shell ornaments traveled in a great circle across many islands. Necklaces moved clockwise, while armbands moved counterclockwise. These items had no practical value. You could not eat them or wear them as clothing. However, they were the most valuable treasures in the region. A man would receive a shell ornament, hold it for a while to gain prestige, and then pass it along to someone on another island. This created a vast network of relationships that kept hundreds of communities at peace without any central government. Mauss then traces how we lost this ancient way of thinking. In early Roman, Germanic, and Hindu law, objects and people were deeply connected. A transaction was not just an exchange of things, it was a bond between souls. But with the rise of trade and commerce, something changed. Societies gradually invented the idea of the pure commodity, an object that could be bought, sold, and completely separated from the person who made it. Only then did the modern economic man emerge, the rational individual who calculates costs and profits, free from any emotional or spiritual ties to trading partners. Mauss views this with mixed feelings. While it allowed for great economic growth, it also led to social isolation and the breakdown of human solidarity. Writing after the devastation of World War I, Mauss looked at modern capitalism and saw a dangerous system. Workers were treated as mere commodities. An employer paid a daily wage and believed the transaction was complete. But Mauss asks, what happens when workers grow old, get sick, or lose their jobs? Under pure capitalist logic, the employer owes them nothing. He calls this a moral disaster. Workers give more than just labor. They give their health, their youth, and their lives to the nation's wealth, so society has an ongoing obligation to them. Mauss uses gift theory to defend the emerging welfare state. Social security, unemployment insurance, and pensions are not acts of charity. They are a return to ancient group morality, a recognition that we are all permanently indebted to each other. Through these programs, the state forces employers and the public to give back to workers. This is an admission that an economy cannot survive on selfishness alone. Mauss ends with a beautiful image from the legend of King Arthur. Before the round table was built, Arthur's knights fought constantly over who should sit at the high table. Duels and murders stained their banquets. So Arthur ordered a great circular table where 1600 men could sit. Because the table had no head, no one was excluded and all ranks sat equal. The quarreling stopped. This is Moses' lesson for humanity. Clans, tribes, and nations must learn to compete and exchange without destroying each other. By creating visible cycles of mutual giving and recognizing our deep interdependence, we create peace. As an old Maori saying puts it, give as much as you take, all shall be very well.